Welcome to Soluna's Q3 2025 business update and earnings presentation. I am John Belizaire, CEO of Soluna Holdings. I am joined today by our CFO, David Michaels. Before we begin, I'd like to start with some legal preamble. The following content is completely qualified by the legal disclosures on the slide following this one. Our goal is to share with you some of our strategic thinking and financial analysis we are using to guide the growth of our business. The content is in line with our principles of being accountable and transparent with shareholders. We operate in a hyper-dynamic economic environment, and that's a fancy way of saying things change quickly. What we're telling you here is based on our estimates and assumptions, which are our best guess. We reserve the right to revise our point of view based on new information and changes in the business environment. Despite an uncertain dynamic environment, we must plan and make operating and investment decisions, and this presentation lays out some of that for your review. Here is that legal disclosure and disclaimer slide. For those of you who are new to our company, I'd like to provide you with a quick overview of Soluna. Essentially, our company lives in the confluence of two big waves. On the one hand, AI is driving exponential growth through the demand for compute and energy, and Bitcoin miners prefer scalable, well-managed, and cost-advantaged hosting partners that can grow with their business. And on the other hand, you have renewable energy that is going through a major challenge with wasted energy due to curtailment. Soluna bridges the gap between these two big technology or confluences by co-locating data centers behind the meter at renewable energy power generation, which enables us to bypass long interconnection queues and improve power economics and accelerate time to market for computing. We call this whole strategy renewable computing. Now let's get into the Q update. If I had to describe the company at this juncture, I'd say this is a new Soluna. What we achieved in the third quarter reflects the exceptional execution of our small but mighty team. We've proven that our business model works and scales, strengthening our position as a leading Bitcoin hosting provider and attracting new world-class capital partners. We've also strengthened our capital structure to be more flexible and growth-oriented. With this foundation, we now have more firepower to accelerate the growth of our existing business and expand into the fast-growing AI market. If you look at our key Q3 highlights, we raised over $64 million in capital. We have well over 100 megawatts under management now, up from 75 from last year, and we'll probably end the year higher than that. We are on our way to over 1 gigawatt in operations. 4.5 exahash in operations. Our power cost continues to be best in class. We've amassed over 2.8 gigawatts of power in our pipeline, and we have continued to deliver on our promise to our partners to monetize their curtailed energy with over 160,000 megawatt hours monetized to date. And of course, we have a great team that is executing extremely well. Q3, we generated $8.4 million, up from Q2. And as you'll see in the financial highlights, there's a lot more promise to our profits, execution as well. Our success over the last 3 years and the last 9 months has been driven by a very simple strategy, and that is to transform stranded clean energy into high-performance computing infrastructure. We now have over 2.8 gigawatts of a power pipeline, as I mentioned, where we sign PPAs and acquire land co-located renewable energy projects with high curtailment. We then convert that into computing projects. Today, we develop, own, and operate Bitcoin hosting data centers that service some of the best miners in the industry. And tomorrow, we intend to build new AI data centers co-located with those renewable energy resources. Together, those two approaches deliver on our promise we call renewable computing, where we make renewable energy a global superpower using computing as a catalyst. I'd now like to take you through the business highlights for Q3 2025. In 2025, we're focused on 4 key corporate initiatives: growing our pipeline, and we've grown that fairly significantly, over 2.8 gigawatts and 1 gigawatt in exclusivity. optimize our projects, which means more projects, growing and adding more projects. We were focusing on Dorothy 2 this year, enhancing the profitability and operational efficiency of Dorothy 1 and our Sophie data centers, and essentially improving our overall customer satisfaction. And as you can see by the growth of the number of projects we've brought on this year, it's proven to be very successful how we've approached our relentless stewardship strategy. Capital formation was very successful in Q3, as I talked about, raising over $64 million. We'll take a look at the details of that shortly. And of course, we continue to develop our AI plan, working on new projects, new sites that will become platforms for AI, and new partnerships as well. We achieved some major business and project milestones in Q3. We signed a $100 million credit facility with Generate Capital. We closed $20 million with Spring Lane for Kotti 1. We reached agreement with NYDIG, putting to bed a long-standing dispute around debt that we had with them. We regained Nasdaq listing compliance. We surpassed 4 exahash in hash rate under management. We added Project Gladys and Faye to our pipeline, allowing us to surpass 1 gigawatt of clean computing projects in operations under construction or development. We raised over $64 million to fund our growth, and we launched a $87 million ATM. The project milestones include our Project Kotti groundbreaking, which happened in September, 48 megawatt partnership with Galaxy Digital for Project Kotti as well, 20 megawatt partnership with Canaan at the Project Dorothy 1A. They will be joining us in January here shortly, replacing customers that will be moving out of the facility. Project Dorothy Phase 2 reached substantial completion in August as well. We also expanded our partnership with Compass in Dorothy 2 and signed a 30 megawatt expansion with a top-tier miner at Dorothy 2, essentially fully filling Dorothy 2 before it had reached capacity and completed construction. It's been a fantastic Q3, and I'm very excited by the progress we've made as a company and the incredible work the team has done. Here's a bit more about the $100 million credit facility with Generate. We drew down $12.6 million on a 5-year initial term loan. We have more capacity on that, $64.5 million, bringing us to that capacity for those projects. We're recapitalizing Dorothy 1A and Dorothy 2, and it's going to support the construction of Dorothy 2 and Kotti as well. This loan amortizes in a very specific way to give us flexibility at the projects. A portion of it is fixed and a portion of it is sweeping. And we did issue warrants to Generate, and we've delivered those in the past quarter. That's to align their interests with ours to grow the business and make it successful over time. Here's a bit more about Generate. They are a $14 billion company, multi-billion-dollar company. They've raised $14 billion since 2014, develop over 2,000 assets, and have 50 partnerships across a range of sectors. It's an honor to work with them. They have a clear understanding of the Bitcoin space and are going to help us to build out the infrastructure that we're developing across our platform. Now, Generate joins a growing list of partners, capital partners, that are helping to finance the company both at a holding company level and a project level. That includes Galaxy, our long-standing partner Spring Lane Capital that has invested with us for some time now, Navitas, our joint venture partner at Dorothy 1B, and of course Yorkville Advisors that set up a SEPA for us last year. About a year ago, we set out to become the industry-leading Bitcoin hosting provider, leveraging our renewable energy-powered infrastructure. We're honored to partner with some of Bitcoin's most successful mining firms, and combined, if you were to combine all of their footprint, it would represent over 87 exahash per second, or probably almost 7.5% of the Bitcoin network. We've signed over 150 megawatts of projects and hosting contracts this year, an incredible feat that has afforded us the ability to partner with some of the best operators and mining companies in the space. You can see them at the bottom there: Blockware, BitDigital, Bitmine, Canaan, Compass Mining, Galaxy, Cooler, and a number of unnamed but very large players in the industry. Now, I want to take you through some project highlights for Q3 2025 and beyond. We're going to touch on the operating projects, some of our newer projects, and our AI projects. Sophie was busy this past quarter. We completed a 3.3 megawatt fleet changeout with an industry-leading customer. We maintained very high operational levels. We survived a very hot summer, and we implemented some annual upgrade, maintenance, and network capabilities to deliver better service for our customers. Dorothy also enjoyed some improvements from a maintenance perspective. We also continued some strong operational stability using our Maestro OS to optimize the facility for the 4CP performance in the summer. We had 2 customers complete deployment fleet upgrades also during the quarter. Dorothy 1B is going through a bit of a makeover. We consolidated miners in the existing fleet to improve utilization and free up rack space. We also began a fleet upgrade, deploying 1,800 S19XP miners into the available space at that facility. And of course, we continued to make operational improvements and standard maintenance for the site. Dorothy 2 is fully energized now. We completed construction on the project. Phase 2 was done and Phase 3 was underway in Q3, and we completed that here recently. We continue to build out the team to support the operations, and this site will prove to be probably one of our best performing sites at 2 exahash under management, very large. It doubles the size of this flagship site. We've had some friends visit recently that were just blown away by the sheer size and scale of this facility, and we're very excited to see this new addition to our fleet. Here's some quick metrics to give you a sense of Dorothy 2 standalone. It's a 48 megawatt project powered by wind, strong LCOE or power costs, 2 exahash as I mentioned earlier, and we have some great partners, Springlane and now Generate in the project. Now that we have Dorothy 1 and 2 energized, we took a moment and stepped back and just looked at the incredible milestone that we've achieved with this facility. The company started out with a small 25 megawatt facility, and our vision and goal was to continue to grow that into a multi-gigawatt pipeline and platform. And Dorothy was the first scaling site. We went from 25 to our next site being 50, and the goal was to get to 100 and quickly continue doubling. And as you can see, we've achieved that goal handsomely here with a 100 megawatt facility, very efficient fleet, incredible power price, the ability to consume lots of wasted energy, over 80,000 megawatts per year, sitting next to a very large wind farm over 150 megawatts. And what's really exciting to me also is just the fact that we have 5 of the industry's leading partners deployed at this facility. Each one of them have come out and seen what we've built here and have said countless times that this is one of the most highest quality facilities and operations they've seen. And that's made possible by 18 full-time roles we've created through these projects that really shapes our relationship with these communities and what we're doing, bringing this technology to rural parts of the U.S. The great state of Texas is a great home for our projects, and we continue to be excited to do this around the state. Now, I want to talk about Project Grace. Project Grace is actually at the Dorothy site, but it's a different project because Grace is about AI. It's a smaller 2 megawatt facility specifically designed to test some innovation and technology that we're developing that will be deployed at our future scaled AI sites. We're specifically zooming in on a big problem that folks aren't talking about in the AI space. There's lots of energy, but they're not talking about the fact that when you deploy these very large-scale GPU and AI systems on the grid, it can affect grid stability. You can see massive power fluctuations in these GPU usage that happens in very short windows of time, and that can have effects on the grid's oscillation, which is potentially very dangerous and risky. And so we're developing some capabilities with the help of a technology partner. We just signed an MOU with them, and we're beginning to complete some conceptual design and layout of the building around a specific NVIDIA reference design. And we did a kickoff recently, went down to the technology partners' offices to design power, microgrid, and storage. And we've begun marketing this site to some of the largest AI cloud companies that are experiencing this problem and really need a solution. So Grace is very exciting. Stay tuned for more updates on Grace in the coming months. Let's talk about Kotti. Project Kotti 1 is the first 83 megawatts of our largest project to date, 166 megawatts. It'll be focused on Bitcoin hosting. And I want to take you through some updates of the site. We'll have capital partners Spring Lane and Generate working with us there. And of course, we have partners at the site, Galaxy. In fact, you can see some of their containers in the picture here, all powered by wind in Southeast Texas. As I mentioned earlier, we held a groundbreaking as we do with each of our new projects. The Project Kotti groundbreaking was really special because not only was it our largest groundbreaking, we had community members, investors, press, advisors, employees, and officials at the site. It was incredible to see how many people wanted to see this incredibly huge project that was about to kick off there. But as we stood on the site, some of the team got a bit emotional because this was clearly a culmination of our vision. We were doubling for the first time the size and footprint of our activities. We're deploying a new project while we have another project under construction at the same time. So 2 projects being built at the same time for the first time. And it was just an amazing time. I want to thank everybody who's supported us over the last few years. Kotti is really a signal that the company is turning into a scaled platform. And lots of folks are beginning to talk about the project, and we've gotten a lot of coverage, so we're very proud of that. So what's the status? So we've got the substation upgrade to support the first 83 megawatts already up. We completed the civil work and that construction is underway. As you can see in the picture, you can see the pads being put together. What you can't see is this massive medium voltage switchgear that's going to power the site, but you can see some of the containers being set on the pads that will power the Galaxy 48 megawatt footprint. And of course, a whole host of long lead equipment has been ordered for the next 35 megawatts that will be staged for the site and are being ready and staged for installation. Now let's talk about Kotti 2. Kotti 2 is a project that is right across the street from Kotti 1. It's going to be a high-performance computing AI facility that is designed to energize late 26, early 27 sort of RFS date. We are doing the design work. So this picture I have here is sort of a technical overview, initial sort of straw man. We're doing the detailed design now at the site, and we're starting to do that with a new development partner that we've signed up. And I'll give you some more details here in a minute. So this past quarter, we started doing the substation upgrade work for Kotti 2. You can see the separate and distinct land site for Kotti 2 on the right there. That's a 50-acre site that we now own, and we acquired that here in Q3 in September, October timeframe. We also started marketing the site to potential customers. And what I can say is we have had overwhelming interest in the site. Customers from both the U.S. and beyond are exploring the opportunity to deploy here. They're really excited about the renewable energy integration and the scalability. It's one of the things we're starting to look at is pathways to increase the capacity of the site, because there's so much interest in this particular area of building AI campuses down here. We signed an MOU with a development partner, as I mentioned in the previous slide, to take that initial design and turn it into a detailed engineering, mechanical, and schedule package that can be provided to customers so that they can bid on the project, and they're all waiting for us to do that. We've started that work. It takes a few weeks to do that. Probably going to take about 8 weeks of work with a number of MEP electrical partners. We're also going to be doing some additional development work to support AI-specific needs. And of course, we'll incorporate some of the design and technology insight from the Grace site to incorporate into Kotti 2 to address this GPU power issue and fluctuation, and how you integrate that with renewables on the grid. Keep in mind, we're one of the first, if not the first, company building a large-scale potential AI campus integrated with renewables in this way. And so we're going to be unlocking some new and interesting innovations. So definitely stay tuned with Kotti 2. We'll continue to keep you posted on this. This is a big initiative for our company. It's taking that lower leg and the diamond strategy picture I showed earlier and focusing on expanding our footprint in the AI space. We think there is a lot of potential for the company because of the organic development of our power. And I'll tell you a bit more about that here shortly. Let's talk about power. There's just, to say that there's a lot of demand for power is kind of an understatement. It's more like a perfect storm, and people don't readily understand why all of this is happening. Part of it is just a historic load spike on the grid. It is said to be about 50 gigawatts of new generation needed by 2030. And you're talking about unprecedented scale. A lot of the campuses are looking to be anywhere from 100 megawatts to 5 gigawatts apiece. That is mind-boggling, and that is driven by the overwhelming view that AI will be shaping the future. Infrastructure bottlenecks are going to be a challenge. Interconnection queues exceed 2.6 terawatts nationally right now, and you're talking about a permit or a process that can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Equipment shortages as well, and lead times are exceeding 5 years now. I talked earlier about the grid reliability strain. DOE, NERC, and a number of policy agencies are trying to figure out how to drive standards because of this AI load fluctuation issue. And as I said, Grace is about helping to solve that challenge. And you're going to hear more about that in the coming months from Soluna. And of course, there's just, every sovereign nation is looking to build large energy portfolios to power their AI initiatives to win the AI arms race, if you will. Now, because you've got this perfect storm around power, it makes the Soluna pipeline ever so powerful. As I've mentioned, we have 2.8 gigawatts of power in our pipeline. That's across 13 power partnerships, 22 projects, and average size of about 150 megawatts. The projects go through a process, if you will, a set of gates. You can see at the bottom, they start at a curtailment assessment where we work with the partner to understand their challenges with their projects. They usually show us several of them. And then one or more of those projects become exclusive to us once we can reach a deal, term sheets get signed, and then projects move to PPA, land acquisition, engineering and feasibility, ERCOT planning, shovel readiness, and then on to build out our energized sites. This core is what's driving the entire growth of our business going forward. As I said, Q3 was a big milestone. We now have a 1 gigawatt of data center capacity in operation, construction, and development. And what's exciting is to look at this chart with all of the projects we announced this year. All of these projects are making an incredible amount of progress. The first 3 rows are existing 75 megawatts that we ended with last year. We added Dorothy 2, it's adding another 48 megawatts, which would take us to 123 megawatts, the largest footprint we've had ever. And Kotti 1, our largest project to date, is under construction. So you can see the momentum building where we will begin to double our projects under management and the footprint of our projects next year. Grace, Rosa, Hetty, Ellen, Annie, Faye, and Gladys are the next group of projects that are going to be advancing. Helen and Eddie are already advancing in their PPA process. We've talked about Grace. Rosa is also progressing. So you'll hear some announcements about those projects shortly as their development phase matures and gets us closer to the shovel-ready phase. Now, as you saw from the previous table, most of our projects are in Texas, but what you don't see from the table is the relationship geographically of those projects to each other. What you start to see is, most of our projects are in the upper west of Texas and the southeast. The other thing that is interesting is when you map the projects, they're starting to show up within tens of miles of each other. So we're getting this proximity of projects, which essentially creates an opportunity for us as we start thinking about these large data center campuses for Bitcoin and AI. The idea is that you could have a project that is drawing power from multiple power plants from our pipeline that can help to build much larger data centers, especially in the context of AI. As I mentioned with Kotti 2, we're looking at this idea because there's such overwhelming demand for that project, and there's demand for more power to be produced by Soluna to support these partnerships. And so we're starting to do some very interesting things down there that you'll hear about, so stay tuned. But as you can see, clustering is a strategic advantage, not just the sheer gigawatts that we have available, but the fact that they're starting, the pipeline is so big that they're starting to essentially become campus-wide opportunities for more data centers, especially in the context of AI. In our earnings power presentation, you can get it from our investor website. What you'll find is a projection of what the world could look like as we begin to grow and implement this doubling approach, where every year we add several more projects, doubling the footprint of our operating footprint as a company. So here's what that might look like if we end this year in the 120 plus megawatts. The goal is to then double that next year and double that again on our way to a gigawatt footprint. That will make available a tremendous amount of exahash potential for Bitcoin hosting. And if you combine that with potential AI, that could become incrementally larger as well, significantly larger, in fact. And so definitely stay tuned on that. And as we develop those projects, we'll update these earnings power presentations later next year, as we normally do. But we're very excited about the potential here. This is the first time in the company's history that we can see multiple years of growth potential because we have exclusive access to these projects in a pretty significant pipeline. Very exciting for Soluna Holdings. So what's coming up next? We've got more projects we're probably going to announce, so you stay tuned for that. You'll hear about PPA updates from Rosa, Hetty, Ellen, and Annie, and more. You'll start to see movement and energization on the Kotti side in the coming quarters. You'll start to see more information about the progress on our Kotti 2 AI initiative, and you'll also see additional energizations of Phase 2 of Kotti 1 happening as well. So stay tuned. Some very exciting things coming up from a catalyst perspective at the company. All right, I mentioned $64 million of capital being raised in Q3 several times in the presentation. Here's a look at the source of that capital and how we raised it. About $20 million from ATM. We raised capital from warrant exercises that took place as well in the quarter. We leveraged a SEPA to raise capital. We did an offering in July, I believe, which ultimately paved the way for the $100 million Generate deal. And we raised capital at the project level for Kotti 1 and Kotti 2, and we refinanced some of our projects, bringing in $12.6 million as well. So all told, that's $64+ million. And as you can see, we've raised it both at the parent company and project company level, which is the whole approach and strategy to capital formation at Soluna. Now, with this capital firepower, we can begin to make capital investments in our projects. We started with Kotti 1. As you can see, we're building out Dorothy 2, and we have plenty of capacity to invest in existing projects, build out new projects, and continue to grow the footprint of our platform, much like the picture I showed you in the earnings power illustration. So it's very important that you understand now that the company is in a completely different place. As I said earlier, this is a new Soluna where we have not only the pipeline, the team, the partnerships, the capital partners, and the liquidity or the capital firepower to invest and grow our business going forward. This is another look at capital formation. I talked earlier about our flexible, scalable capital structure. We've really restructured the company to allow us to grow and scale across those different business strategies. So the way we raise money is we raise equity and debt at the parent company level, and then we use that cash to invest equity into our projects on the Bitcoin hosting side and on the AI infrastructure side. So, and then we partner with our capital partners to deploy capital into those projects, either through the form of equity and debt as well, which gives us more scalability but less dilution. So that's the idea of the Soluna capital formation structure. On the AI side, our goal is to do joint ventures with infrastructure funds and data center development companies, and then have credit funds come in and provide debt for those projects at the project level. Once the leases or contracts are signed or LOIs are signed at those projects, and our goal is to own an initial portion of those projects and then scale that ownership over time. And on the Bitcoin hosting side, our strategy is to build more of these facilities, sign larger projects with partners, and own more of those facilities using this capital formation strategy. Well, that's Q3 from a business perspective. I now would like to turn the presentation over to David Michaels to take you through the financial highlights for the quarter.
Thank you, John. Before we get into the financial highlights, let's review the four sources of Soluna's revenue. First, proprietary Bitcoin mining. We mine Bitcoin at data centers owned jointly with our JV partner, and we sell that Bitcoin daily. Second, hosting Bitcoin miners. We host and manage third-party owned machines that mine Bitcoin at our data centers. Third, grid ancillary services. We provide behind-the-meter flexible load services to the grid. And fourth, high-performance computing. This is our future. Working with JV partners, we are developing and will manage AI-ready data centers. The third quarter is a story of transformation, and that is most visible in our balance sheet. It's stronger, more resilient, and built for growth. Starting from the left, the most dramatic change in our balance sheet is in our current assets, which increased by nearly 400%. The largest component of that increase was unrestricted cash, which increased by nearly $44 million. Our current assets represent an important source of capital for future investments. Think of it as fuel for growth. Moving to the right, property, plant, and equipment increased 36% as Dorothy 2 neared completion and we began construction of Kotti 1. Each of these continuing the conversion of our intangible pipeline assets to tangible productive assets. Think of this as our engine for growth. Moving to liabilities, the first set of bars represent our current liabilities, which increased by nearly 18% as we borrowed to fund the development of our new projects. Note that also that there is a modest increase in long-term debt. Using leverage prudently is an important source of non-dilutive low-cost capital, and done right, lowers our overall cost of capital. Notably, our current ratio flipped from negative to positive in one quarter. Revenue for the quarter increased by $2.3 million, or 36% sequentially from the second quarter. This increase was driven mainly by Dorothy 2 capacity increases and new customers. Dorothy 2 is now fully deployed. Our other hosting sites maintain modest revenue growth, while revenue at our prop mining site remains steady. These results illustrate the positive impact that scaling our pipeline combined with disciplined execution has on our revenue generation potential. Now let's have a look at our gross profit trend. Note the flip that occurred this year when we moved from negative gross profit in 2024 to positive in 2025. That positive trend has continued during the year and accelerated into Q3. Q3 gross profit increased to 28% compared to 19% in Q2 of 2025, reflecting our strong focus on cost discipline, amplified by margin stability associated with our transition from prop mining to hosting, and aided by a $400,000 one-time electricity credit. Q3 adjusted EBITDA decreased by $3 million to negative $6 million as compared to Q3 24. This decrease was primarily due to financing fees paid in connection with our equity sales activity. Equity is and will remain an important source of investment capital, and we expect the cost of its accessing equity markets to decline in the future. Other items impacting Q3 earnings include compensation charges related to 2024 and increases in professional fees. Now let's take a look at adjusted EBITDA excluding some of those items. In this slide, we identify and carve out some of the non-operating and timing impacts that affected adjusted EBITDA to illustrate our adjusted operating EBITDA trend and give a better sense for our operating earnings potential. The table below identifies these items and reconciles to adjusted EBITDA as reported. I'll draw your attention here to the $4.7 million charge in Q3 for other financing expense and point out that although this was charged to earnings, this was related and funded by our Q3 equity raises. Also note that excluding these items, adjusted EBITDA for Q3 was positive. And finally, let's dig a little deeper and take a look at our project-level financial results. The first column in the table, Dorothy 1B, is our prop mining site. The next three columns, projects Dorothy 1A, Dorothy 2, and Sophie, are hosting sites. And column Other is our ancillary services, also known as demand response services. Dorothy 1B continued generating strong revenue, making up about 33% of our total revenue, and began upgrading its miner fleet to improve gross profit. Dorothy 1A and Sophie delivered strong gross margins of 44% and 68% respectively. Dorothy 2 continued customer deployments during the quarter, driving a major increase in revenue of more than $2 million as compared to the second quarter. Overall, our hosting operations generated 63% of our revenue and 87% of our gross profit, adding a growing and reliable source of revenue and profits. Demand response services delivered 4% of our revenue and 13% of our gross profit. Small, but highly profitable. That concludes our review of the financial highlights. Thank you for your interest and support of Soluna.
Thank you, David. That was a fantastic tour. I would now want to pause and thank the incredible team at Soluna for all of the work they've done over the last 9 months and this past quarter. What we've achieved this year, and in fact in the last few months, is stuff that companies might take years to achieve. And that is a testament to the incredible will, energy, and passion that this team has. And I also want to thank our shareholders for their patience and support over the last 3.5 years. Well, thanks for tuning in. You can get more information. I encourage you to follow the links in the show notes here and download this presentation. There's a lot more content in the deck that includes GAAP financials, information about the projects, bridges, cash flow, analytics, and more. So definitely download that and take a look at it on your own time. We have lots more to share about the future of our business, so definitely keep in touch with us. We're on X. You can follow us at Soluna Holdings. You can also follow the company page on LinkedIn. We're Soluna Holdings. And if you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, please subscribe. We share lots of great updates and content, and I think it will be very helpful to your research and understanding what makes Soluna special and where we're going on our journey to make renewable energy a global superpower, using computing as a catalyst and implementing our renewable computing strategy. Thank you.